The financial world has just shifted, and most people didn't even notice. The International Monetary Fund, the very institution that sits at the center of global economic coordination, quietly released a document. Not a blog post, not a theory, but a strategic framework. A digital blueprint for how money will move across borders in the years ahead. And this is no ordinary update. This is a full-blown restructuring of the global financial nervous system. For decades, we've relied on aging infrastructure, SWIFT, correspondent banks, legacy rails built for a paper-driven past. But those days are numbered, because what the IMF just outlined is nothing short of a revolution. A move toward a real-time, interoperable, regulated, digital-first financial world. A world where value moves like information, instant, frictionless, borderless. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because this exact system, this new financial architecture, mirrors the very DNA of two digital assets the mainstream has long ignored, XRP and XLM. Ripple and Stellar have been building quietly in the shadows of regulation, perfecting payment rails, forming alliances, preparing for something bigger than a bull market. And now, the blueprint the IMF just released validates everything. From instant liquidity to compliance-ready protocols, from financial inclusion to tokenized asset movement, XRP and XLM are no longer just speculative tokens. They are infrastructure contenders, primed for the very role the IMF now envisions. Make no mistake, this moment isn't about a single coin pumping. This is about a seismic shift in how the global economy functions. And those who recognize it now, before the headlines catch up, will be standing on the right side of history. This isn't hype. This isn't just another crypto narrative. This is the foundation of a new monetary era, backed by the highest level of global authority. And if you're already holding XRP or XLM, you may not realize it yet, but you're holding a piece of the future. Because what the IMF just unveiled doesn't just suggest a change. It demands it. And for those paying attention, this changes everything. This week, something monumental happened, and almost no one noticed. While the headlines were busy with political debates and celebrity scandals, the International Monetary Fund, the financial backbone of over 190 countries, made a quiet move that could, quite literally, redefine the structure of the global economy. They didn't make a loud announcement. No press conference. No major media push. Instead, they published a document just a few dozen pages long, but packed with the kind of language and planning that signals a massive shift. Inside that document lies something far more significant than most will realize at first glance. It's not just a white paper. It's a structured, executable framework, a roadmap to build the next generation of international finance. Its core mission? To establish global interoperability of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. In simpler terms, the IMF is preparing to launch a universal bridge, one that allows all national digital currencies to talk to each other, move value across borders, and settle transactions in real time, with full compliance, transparency, and speed. And they're calling this ambitious system the XC platform, short for cross-border platform. Now, don't let the simple name fool you. This isn't a think tank proposal. This isn't some beta phase sandbox or optional experiment. It's a blueprint for what could become the central nervous system of international finance in the digital age. The XC platform would act as a centralized, neutral settlement layer, allowing digital currencies, regardless of country, to flow across borders without friction, delay, or confusion. We're talking about instantaneous value exchange, currency conversion, and regulatory enforcement, all embedded in one network and capable of integrating directly with national financial systems. It's essentially SWIFT 2.0. Except this time, it's not a messaging system that tells banks to move money. It's a programmable, interoperable digital rail that actually moves the money itself in real time. But this goes far beyond just upgrading how fast we send payments. Let's break it down. What the IMF is proposing is a financial ecosystem that rests on three core pillars. Control: the ability for central banks and regulatory bodies to track, monitor, and authorize transactions as they happen globally. No more blind spots. No more off-grid value flow. Compliance: every transaction will be natively built to support KYC, know your customer, AML, anti-money laundering, and tax protocols. Compliance won't be a layer, it'll be part of the architecture. Speed, settlement times that go from days to seconds, from lagging confirmation to instant finality. This is the holy trinity of modern finance. And the XE platform is built to deliver exactly that, while ensuring that governments, banks, and institutions don't lose control in the process. But now comes the question that every smart investor and technologist should be asking. If this is the infrastructure, what technology will power it? Because here's the kicker. The IMF's blueprint doesn't mention names, but it describes a system that already exists. A system that already runs on scalable, decentralized networks. A system that's fast, secure, cost-efficient, and compliant. Enter XRP and XLM. Ripple's XRP ledger and Stellar's blockchain have been working toward this vision for over a decade, well before the term CBDC was even mainstream. They've partnered with central banks, built corridors for remittances, processed real-time payments, and developed the exact cross-border use cases the XE platform demands. They aren't speculative assets anymore. They're ready-made infrastructure, plug-and-play solutions that can integrate directly into what the IMF just described. And that's the most important part of this story. Because the IMF didn't create this blueprint for the future, they created it for right now. They're not looking for hypothetical solutions. They're looking for battle-tested technologies that can deliver today. And for those holding XRP and XLM, this might not just be confirmation. It might be the beginning of global utility. The moment these assets move from niche digital tokens to core pillars of the next financial era. Because what the IMF just released isn't just a plan. It's a signal, a green light, a quiet but powerful acknowledgement. The future is digital. The rails are ready. Now we just need to connect them. And if XRP and XLM are those rails, then the game isn't about price anymore. It's about position. Let's take a step back and read between the lines. Because while the IMF's blueprint may appear technical on the surface, its language, structure, and objectives speak volumes to those who understand the space. They didn't say Ripple. They didn't say Stellar. But they didn't have to. Instead, they described a system that looks eerily familiar to anyone who's been following the evolution of XRP and XLM. A network that facilitates real-time cross-border payments. One that ensures regulatory oversight is built in. A platform that supports multi-asset interoperability, allowing digital currencies from multiple jurisdictions to interact seamlessly. And most importantly, a system that's not limited to CBDCs, but also open to private sector integrations. Now pause. What existing platforms check all those boxes right now? XRP and XLM weren't built for retail hype. They weren't made for meme coin trends. They were architected from day one to solve the exact problem the IMF just laid out. Ripple's on-demand liquidity solution is already enabling financial institutions to transfer value across borders without the need for pre-funded accounts, slashing costs and settlement times from days to seconds. Stellar, through its partnerships with entities like MoneyGram and the UNHCR, is delivering real-world utility in underserved regions, enabling instant digital payments in places where the traditional system has failed. These platforms aren't concepts. They're active, battle-tested, and already trusted by institutions around the world. And yet, the mainstream still thinks crypto is only about speculation. But here's what the IMF understands, and what most people are missing. This isn't just about technology. It's about timing and trust. The world is entering a phase where trustless technology must coexist with deep regulatory oversight, where decentralization must be able to integrate with central authority, where money must be able to move freely but within the rules. And who's already sitting at that intersection? XRP and XLM. Both are ISO 20022 compliant, aligning with the global messaging standard that central banks and financial institutions are migrating to. Both have been working with regulators instead of fighting them. Both have infrastructure that supports real-time gross settlement, asset issuance, and programmable money. So when the IMF says, we need a system to connect digital currencies with control, compliance, and speed, they're not inventing the future. They're finally catching up to what Ripple and Stellar have been building for over a decade. And let's be honest, this wasn't written for retail investors or crypto Twitter. This was written for governments, central banks, and financial architects, the people who build the foundations the rest of the world lives on. And when those institutions start looking for partners to power this new infrastructure, they won't start from scratch. They'll look to what's already running, what's already integrated, what's already trusted. And XRP and XLM? They're not waiting for attention. They're not waiting for a green light. They're just waiting for adoption at scale. So now the question becomes, what does this actually mean for you, the individual, the investor, the early adopter holding XRP or XLM? Because let's be honest, most people are still caught up in price charts. They're watching 15-minute candles, waiting for the next hype wave, jumping from trend to trend. But if you've made the decision to hold XRP or XLM, you need to understand something very clearly. You're not holding coins. You're holding infrastructure. You're holding the plumbing of the future global economy, a foundational layer designed for a financial system that is now being openly architected by the most powerful institutions in the world. The IMF didn't just sketch out a vision. They described a system that requires real-time settlement, borderless liquidity, interoperability across fiat and digital assets, and built-in compliance with international regulations. You know what that means? That means they need something that works now. Not in theory, not someday, but today. So if you're holding XRP or XLM right now, you're not early because you're betting on the future. You're early because you're already holding the solution the system is about to reach for. And here's the twist. When these changes roll out, when central banks, payment providers, and governments start onboarding into this new architecture, there won't be fanfare. There won't be a countdown. There won't be a giant flashing light that says, "Now's the time to buy," because by then, the rails will already be laid. The integrations will already be signed. And the true utility, the thing most people still don't see, will begin operating in the background, quietly powering trillions in value flow. That's the nature of infrastructure. You don't see it. You don't notice it. But everything depends on it. And XRP, XLM? They're built to be the invisible engine behind the scenes. Not the headline, but the foundation. So what does this mean for holders? It means you need to stop thinking like a trader and start thinking like an early stakeholder in a digital revolution. Because whether it's through the XE platform or another global settlement layer, the world is converging toward exactly the kind of system you've already invested in. And when that system turns on, there won't be time to chase gains. There won't be time to do your research. There won't be time to wait and see. You'll either be positioned or watching from the outside. So let's bring this full circle and take a sober look at what's unfolding right in front of us. The International Monetary Fund, not a think tank, not a startup, but the central nerve of global monetary coordination, has just done something monumental. Without a press blitz, without viral tweets, without a single headline on the evening news, they released a strategic blueprint, a carefully engineered framework designed to reshape the very fabric of global finance. A future where national currencies are no longer limited by borders, where compliance isn't a bottleneck, but a feature, where money moves with the same speed and transparency as data. And here's what 99% of people haven't realized. The world isn't waiting for this technology to be built. The technology is already here. It's been running, quietly, effectively, for years. XRP and XLM, digital assets that many once dismissed as relics of crypto's past, now stand at the epicenter of a financial future being constructed by the most powerful institutions on Earth. Let's be real. They've taken hits. They've been ridiculed by the uninformed. They've faced lawsuits, been delisted, misunderstood, underestimated. And yet, they never stopped building. While the rest of the market chased memes, hype cycles, and vaporware, Ripple and Stellar built the plumbing. Real infrastructure, real use cases, real partnerships with banks, governments, NGOs, and payment providers. Now the IMF, the apex of international finance, is speaking the same language they've been using for over a decade. This isn't coincidence. This is convergence. We are watching a shift from speculative noise to real-world value, from retail chatter to institutional integration, from theoretical frameworks to global execution. And here's the moment of truth. This is no longer just about price charts. This is no longer about when moon or next bull run. This is about control over the future of money itself. The nations and networks that establish digital dominance today will shape trade, geopolitics, and global mobility for generations to come. So what does this mean for you? If you're holding XRP or XLM, you're not just holding coins. You're holding a strategic position in the next evolution of the global financial system. You're not betting on potential. You're aligned with trajectory. But here's the uncomfortable truth most won't hear until it's too late. When these systems go live, when the rails connect, when central banks press start, there won't be fireworks. There won't be mass announcements. The value will just start moving quietly, invisibly, and the market will only realize what happened after the fact. By then, the train will already be moving, and retail investors who were waiting for confirmation or mainstream approval will be chasing a moving target they no longer understand. Because history doesn't reward the ones who arrive once it's obvious. It rewards the ones who saw it early. The ones who understood infrastructure before it was sexy. The ones who didn't just watch the future happen. They held it. And if that's you, if you're already positioned, then you're not late. You're right on time.